woke up in the middle of the night and saw a stranger in my bedroom. Her words made my heart stop. When a single father heard a strange sound in the middle of a stormy night, he could not imagine that within minutes a bloody stranger would enter his home, bringing with him the danger of death. What should have been an ordinary night with his feverish daughter turned into a nightmare. Armed men surrounded his fortress, and every second could be the last for the 7-year-old girl locked in a haunted house. This is the story of how paranoid caution became his only salvation, and the past he tried to forget returned in the most brutal way. Before you hear the rest of our new story, tell us in the comments where you're watching it from. The storm hit the Oregon coast like a giant hammer shattering glass. Daniel Harrison woke at 3:47 a.m. to the sound of his daughter coughing in the next room. A wet, wheezing cough that had been getting worse for the past 3 days, despite the medicine, despite his efforts, despite every promise he whispered to her hot forehead. He lay still in the darkness, listening to the wind howl outside the reinforced windows that had cost him $12,000 to install, and he wondered if ordinary fathers worried so much. Probably not. Ordinary dads don't equip their homes with military-grade motion sensors. Ordinary dads don't keep loaded guns in biometric safes in 4 separate rooms. Ordinary dads don't build houses on isolated cliffs, specifically because there's only one way to get to the cliff. But Daniel Harrison stopped being ordinary the day his wife's car crashed off a bridge in similar weather, and the brake cables, which the official report called rusted, Daniel's instincts called broken. That was 4 years ago. Daniel was 39 years old and had once worked for the country's largest security company, Guardian Security Group. Tall, with the broad shoulders and strong hands of a man used to physical labor, he had that distinct look that marks a professional. Cool, evaluative, always calculating options and threats. His hair had long since turned gray, and his face bore scars, one above his eyebrow, another on his chin, memories of past operations he never spoke of. After Sarah's death, he had become a recluse, completely focused on the one person who mattered to him. His daughter, Emma, was a fragile 7-year-old with dark curls inherited from her mother and her father's serious gray-green eyes. She was too smart for her age, the result of homeschooling and constant interaction with an adult who treated her as an equal. The girl understood that her father was different from other parents. She knew why their house had so many locks, why they weren't allowed to open the door to strangers, why they had a special room with thick walls where she could run if her father said a code word. For Emma, this was the norm, love expressed through caution. Sarah was the complete opposite of Daniel, warm, open, and a believer in the goodness of people. She worked as a primary school teacher and had a knack for finding light even in the darkest situations. She balanced his paranoia with her lightness, making him smile when he was too absorbed in dark thoughts about possible dangers. She had shoulder-length blonde hair, gentle features, and a laugh that made everything around her seem safe. When she died, something completely broke inside Daniel. He promised Sarah, as she was lowered into the earth, which could not contain all the light she carried, that he would keep their daughter safe at all costs, no matter how extreme it seemed. So far, extreme measures had meant retiring early from Guardian Security at 39. Liquidating all her money to buy this fortress, homeschooling Emma, teaching the 7-year-old that locks weren't paranoia, but the practical embodiment of love. The wind whipped through the house again, and Emma's cough turned to gasps. Daniel's eyes were just beginning to close when he heard that. Click. Not the click of wood settling, not the click of thermal contraction, the click of metal on metal with professional precision. the sound of someone bypassing a limiter, knowing exactly what they're doing. Daniel's hand moved before his mind could react. The biometric safe beside his bed scanned his fingerprint and opened with a faint beep. The 19 caliber Glock fit in his palm as if it had never left him. 15 rounds, one in the chamber, a flashlight mounted. He had reimagined this scenario 200 times in his mind. He had never thought he would realize this. His feet hit the floor silently. No boots, no hesitation. The bedroom door was already ajar, as he always left it, always positioned so he could see down the hall to Emma's room. Her door was closed. Good. The safe room he'd built in her bedroom had 6-inch walls of reinforced concrete and a door capable of stopping rifle bullets, if he could get there first. Another sound. Closer. The bathroom is upstairs. Daniel's blood ran cold. The upstairs bathroom was 40 feet from Emma's room. Anyone approaching from that direction would have passed her door first. He moved through the darkness like smoke, each step placed with the precision of a man who had walked these floors 1,000 times blindly. The house groaned around him, the wind beating on the roof, the rain beating against the bulletproof windows, making the whole place feel like a submarine at the bottom of the ocean. His eyes had fully adjusted. The corridor stretched ahead, lit only by the faint green glow of the emergency exit signs he had installed at each end. One to Emma's room, one to the stairs. His gun was raised, his finger resting on the frame, not the trigger. Not yet. The bathroom door was closed. Light was filtering in from below. Someone was in his house, in his bathroom, the light on, as if they had every right to be there. Daniel's tactical mind had calculated. One intruder, maybe more. Unknown weapons, unknown intentions. Emma, sick and vulnerable, 12 yards away. The nearest help was the sheriff in town, 23 minutes away, weather permitting. Today, 40 minutes at least. He was alone, as he had chosen. Daniel pressed his back against the wall next to the bathroom door, his gun ready, his breathing controlled. His left hand reached for the handle. In one motion, he would open the door, identify the target, assess the threat, and, if necessary, neutralize it. 3, 2, 1. Daniel turned the handle and opened the door, his gunlight flickering, illuminating the woman. He stood by the sink, one hand resting on the counter, the other pressed against his body, where blood was seeping through his fingers. His clothes were soaked. His dark hair was stuck to his face, which might have been beautiful if it hadn't been stained by rain and something that looked like fear, hidden beneath layers of desperate self-control. She didn't scream. She didn't raise her hands. She simply looked at him, at the gun pointed at her chest, and said in a voice like gravel rubbing steel, "Calm down. I needed a place to hide." Daniel's finger remained in place. "You broke into my house. Your door was closed. I opened it." He winced, adjusting his grip on the wound. "I had no choice. There are people hunting me and wanting to kill me, and I needed a place where they couldn't get to." "So you chose someone else's house in the middle of nowhere during a storm?" "I chose your house, Daniel." The sound of his name on her lips almost made him pull the trigger. "How do you know who I am?" The woman's eyes, dark brown, sharp despite the pain, met his gaze. "Because Marcus told me that if I ever needed someone who could truly keep me alive, I had to find the man who kept him alive, the man who hid him so carefully that even those who tried to kill him couldn't find a trace." The air left Daniel's lungs. Marcus. Marcus Lawson, the informant, the accountant who uncovered a financial conspiracy that could have killed him 6 times over. Daniel moved him, hid him, gave him a new identity under a contract so secret that even Guardian security records labeled him a routine transfer. No one was supposed to know. Marcus Lawson is my brother, the woman said quietly, and I'm about to end up just as dead as he was if you don't help me. Daniel's gun didn't come down. Why should I believe you? Because 2 months ago, Marcus sent you a postcard from Denver with a picture of mountains and 3 words on the back. I'm still breathing. Thank you. Daniel's hand tightened on his Glock. He had received that postcard. He had burned it immediately. He had never told anyone. What's your name? He asked. Maya Lawson. I'm a forensic accountant, and I just stole evidence that will destroy the people who will make my brother's targets look like petty thieves. He took his hand off his body, showing her his bloody shirt, the makeshift bandage that no longer worked. They shot me 3 hours ago. I've been on the run ever since. Your house is the only place I thought they wouldn't search. Who are they? Does it matter? People with guns, people with resources, people who... The lights went out. It wasn't just the bathroom light. Everything. The entire house was plunged into absolute darkness, the kind that only happens when all systems fail simultaneously. Daniel's gunlight flickered again, illuminating Maya's face. Her expression changed from pain to something worse. Horror. They found me, she whispered. Daniel grabbed her hand. How many are there? I don't know. 3 people were following me from Portland, maybe more by now. Armed? Yes. Professionals? Yes. Daniel pulled her out of the bathroom and out into the hallway. His mind raced through the house's systems. The power shouldn't have gone out. It had triple redundancy. Backup generator, backup battery, backup solar. For everything to go down at once, someone would have had to physically cut the wires. Someone who knew where they were. His hand reached for the emergency radio on his belt. There was a static noise. The landline in his office, he could see it from here, mounted on the wall, was dead when he picked it up. They cut everything off, Maya said. That's their modus operandi. They isolate, then they break in. Stay behind me. Daniel moved quickly now, pulling Maya toward Emma's room. His daughter's door was still closed, but he could hear her moving inside. He heard the quiet, confused sound of a child waking up in the darkness. Daddy. Emma's voice came through the door, weak and scared. It's okay, my dear, Daniel called out, keeping his voice calm even as his heart pounded. You have to do exactly what I've practiced. Remember? Go to the secure room, put your thumb on the panel. Lock yourself in. Don't come out until I come for you. I'm scared. I know, honey, but you're brave. You're very brave. Go now. He heard her small footsteps on the floor. He heard the heavy slam of the secure room door. He heard the locks closing with a series of mechanical clicks that sounded like the most beautiful music he had ever heard. Your daughter, Maya said. My daughter, Daniel confirmed, who is about to be caught in the middle of the fire because of you. I don't... From below, Daniel heard it. An engine revving, too calm, too controlled to be lost in a storm. The sound of people who knew exactly where they were and had all the time in the world at their disposal. Then there was a knock on the door. Not the front door. Daniel had expected this. He had an entrance equipped with sensors that would alert him if anyone came up the driveway. The knock was coming from the side entrance. The one that led to the utility level. the one that should have been hidden behind the landscaping and the darkness. 2 knocks, decisive, professional. Then a voice, carried by the wind, impossibly calm through the storm. Maya Lawson, we know you're in there. Come out now, and the family in this house will be safe. Daniel felt Maya freeze next to him. He's bluffing, she whispered. He must be bluffing. But Daniel's tactical mind was already 3 steps ahead, and what it showed him was freezing his blood. They hadn't just found Maya. They knew about this house before she arrived. They knew about the side entrance. They knew exactly where to turn off the power. They knew how to bypass the security system without setting off any alarms, which meant someone had told them. Someone who knew this place inside out. Someone Daniel trusted. We have to move, he said. Now. He pulled Maya down the hall to his office, not because he had a plan, but because standing still meant death, and Daniel Harrison had promised his wife he would keep their daughter alive at all costs. The office was his command center. 6 monitors, all dark now. The radio equipment was useless, but in the drawer, Daniel tugged it open and pulled out an emergency satellite phone, encrypted with its own power supply, designed for just this scenario. He turned it on. Nothing. He checked the battery, fully charged. He checked the antenna, undamaged. The phone was dead, undamaged, disconnected. They jammed it, Maya said, reading the expression on his face. They're not only professional, they're equipped. Who the hell are these people you're running from? I told you, tell the truth. Now. Maya's eyes met his, and for the first time he saw true fear beneath everything that was hiding. We found evidence of a money laundering operation. $50 billion moving through shell companies. The kind of money that governments buy. The kind of money that private military contractors have on speed dial. And you stole them? I documented them. There is a difference. Not for them. The sound from below had changed. There was no more knocking. Now there was the methodical thud, bang, 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 of a heavy blow on the reinforced door. They were breaking in. Daniel went to the window, bulletproof but still able to see out. Through the rain, lit by lightning, he counted 4 men, fully equipped with tactical gear, rifles, moving with a coordination that betrayed serious training. How did they find you? He asked. I don't know. I was careful. I changed cars 3 times. I turned off my phone. Think better. Maya's face turned pale. The stick. Evidence. It's in my jacket. It's got a built-in GPS tracker. Standard company security protocol. I forgot. I was bleeding and running. And I forgot. Daniel wanted to scream. He wanted to throw her out the window and hope the people outside would leave once they got what they were looking for. But he knew better. He had worked enough evacuations to know how this would end. They would take Maya. They would kill her in a quiet place. And they would kill everyone who saw their faces, including Emma. Where's the USB stick? He asked. Maya reached into her jacket with shaking hands and pulled out a small black USB stick, unremarkable except for the small green LED blinking on one end. Give it to me. He handed it to her. Daniel looked at it for a long second. $50 billion in evidence. Someone's entire operation. Someone's entire empire. And then he threw it with all his might out the open window into the storm. What are you doing? Maya gasped. It's taking us a while to win. They'll follow her. They'll find her in the mud. I think you kept running. It'll give us maybe 10 minutes before they realize you're still here. 10 minutes to do what? Daniel opened another drawer. It contained something that made Maya's eyes widen. A tactical vest, spare magazines, a rifle, and a radio that was definitely not for civilian use. You said they were professionals, Daniel said, putting on his vest. Me too. The downstairs door finally gave way with a loud bang. The hunt began. Daniel turned off the gun light and pulled Maya to the floor. In the darkness, his house became something else, not a home, but a battlefield. And Daniel knew every inch of it. Listen carefully, he whispered. This house has 3 levels. The ground floor, where they just entered, the top floor, where we are, and the basement, where the generator and my real workshop are. You will go up the back stairs, the one behind the warehouse. You will reach the basement and lock yourself in the workshop. There are still guns there. Can you shoot? I was at the shooting range. Pretty good. Anyone who comes through that door and it's not me, shoot them until they stop moving. Got it? And you? I'll slow them down. Give yourself time. Give Emma time. There are 4. I know. Daniel, go now. Maya hesitated, and in that moment, Daniel saw something change in her eyes. He saw her realize that he had chosen to face death so that he could live, just as Marcus had described him, just like the man her brother had entrusted his life to. He shook her hand once, then disappeared into the darkness towards the back stairs. Daniel headed down the hall, pressed himself against the wall, and waited. He heard voices from downstairs, calm, professional, coordinated. The main floor is free. The kitchen is free. We're moving upstairs. They were approaching. Daniel's finger moved from the frame to the trigger. His breathing slowed. His heartbeat evened out. Every hour of training, every simulation, every nightmare scenario he had ever played out in his mind, condensed into this moment. The first man's head appeared at the top of the stairs. Daniel did not hesitate. The Glock fired once, muffled but still loud in the narrow space. The man fell, his rifle clanging on the stairs. Screams were heard from below. Shots! The shooter on the second floor! Daniel was already moving, running down the hall toward the master bedroom. He heard boots clatter up the stairs behind him. The 2 men were moving quickly. He slipped into the bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. He didn't stop. He shouldn't have. He grabbed the bed frame and pulled it toward the door. Not a barricade, just an obstacle. Then he headed for the window. The bedroom window faced the cliff, a 40-foot drop to the cliffs and ocean below. He opened it. The wind and rain rushed in, howling. The bedroom door exploded inward, breaking off its hinges. 2 men ran in, rifles raised, scanning for targets, and found only an open window in a room that appeared to have been abandoned for seconds. One of them went to the window, looked down into the storm-swept darkness, and spoke into the radio. He jumped. The target could be... Daniel fell from the corner above the door, where he had secured himself, putting all his weight and momentum into the blow. His boot hit the first man in the base of the skull, knocking him to the ground. The second man turned, but Daniel was already on his guard, grabbing the barrel of the rifle and redirecting the muzzle as bullets pierced the ceiling. They fell together, struggling for control. The man was younger, stronger, but Daniel fought with the desperate efficiency of a father protecting his child. He dug his thumb into the pressure point below his ear, pressed hard, felt the man's grip loosen, then slammed his forehead against the bridge of his nose. Blood, cartilage. The man went limp. Daniel picked up his rifle, a tactical AR-15 with high-quality optics, and returned to the hallway. His radio crackled. "Second team, report." Silence. "Second team, status." More silence. Then a new voice, the one that stopped Daniel's entire world. "Hello, Daniel." Ethan Bradshaw, Daniel's ex-partner, his best friend, the man who helped him design this house, the man who held Emma when she was a baby, the man who stood by him at Sarah's funeral and promised to always support him. The voice came through the house's intercom system, his own system, calm, familiar, and completely wrong. "I know you can hear me," Ethan continued, "and I know you're wondering how I got in so easily, how I knew every entry point, every security measure, every weakness in your perfect little fortress." Daniel's hands clenched on the rifle. "You built this place to keep Emma safe," Ethan said. "You consulted me on everything. Security protocols, sight lines, kill zones. You entrusted me with the plans, the access codes, everything, because we were brothers, right? Because I would never betray you." "Son of a bitch," Daniel whispered into the void. "I tried to warn you, Dan. I tried to tell you that the private security industry had changed, that companies like Guardian Security were dinosaurs, that the real money, the real power, was in serving people who didn't care about laws or ethics, only about results. But you didn't listen to me. You retired. You stopped working. You built your own panic room, and you thought you could hide from the world. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the corridor with a bright white light. A woman in your house stole something worth more money than you can imagine. My employers want it back. My employers want her dead. And my employers are paying me very, very well to make both of those things happen." Daniel pressed the radio button. "Emma is in this house, Ethan. I know. I've seen the medical records. Pneumonia, right? It's getting worse. That's why I planned this for today. I knew you wouldn't run away. I knew you wouldn't risk moving her in this weather. Are you using a sick child as a fulcrum? I'm using reality. You have two options, Dan. Give me Maya Lawson and the USB stick, and you and Emma can leave. Fight me, and I'll have to kill you in front of your daughter. Your choice. You have 60 seconds. The radio went silent. Daniel's mind was racing. Ethan knew this house inside and out. He knew Emma was in the safe room that Ethan himself had helped design. He knew the exit from the basement was blocked by outsiders. He knew that every advantage Daniel had built in this place was now being used against him. But Ethan didn't know about Maya in the workshop. He didn't know that Daniel had thrown the USB stick into the storm. He didn't know that Daniel had already made his choice by the time the threat came for his daughter. He will kill them all, or die trying. Daniel moves quickly, heading for the back stairs. If he could get to Maya, to the workshop, he could. The electricity has returned. Every light in the house came to life. Every monitor, every sensor. The sudden brightness was blinding, disorienting. And then Daniel understood. Ethan hadn't cut the power off for good. He'd cut it off to position his people. Now he was turning it back on so he could see exactly where Daniel was, where Maya was, where Emma was. On the nearest monitor, one of the corridor's security signals, Daniel saw himself, saw the rifle in his hands, saw the blood on his shirt from the hand-to-hand combat, and somewhere, he knew, Ethan was watching the same signal, watching him, directing his men to movement at the end of the hall. The guest room door opened. A man appeared, rifle raised, his eyes fixed on Daniel. Both men fired simultaneously. The corridor was turning into thunder and lightning flashing like a nightmare come true. Daniel felt something hot rip through his ribs. He felt himself fall backwards, crashing against the wall. The other man fell hard. 2 blows to his center of gravity, knocking him back. Daniel was gasping for air. His rib was burning. When he touched it, his hand turned red again. But the bleeding wasn't arterial. It wasn't fatal. Not yet. 4 men are killed, but Ethan was still out there somewhere. Daniel staggered toward the back stairs, each step agonizing. He had to get to Maya. He had to regroup. He had to. Emma's voice came over the intercom, small, scared, calling out to him. Dad, what's going on? Daniel's blood ran cold. That voice shouldn't have been on the comms. The security camera didn't have access. He'd disabled it on purpose to prevent just this kind of psychological warfare. Unless Ethan had reactivated it remotely. Dad, a man is talking to me. He says he's your friend. He says I need to open the door. Emma, no, Daniel screamed. Don't open the door. But the rest of his words were drowned out by the sound of the secure room locks unlocking with a series of mechanical clicks. Ethan had the abortion codes. Of course he had them. He helped program them. Daniel ran. He forgot the pain in his side. He forgot the tactics. He forgot everything except the image of his daughter's door opening and the monster in human skin standing on the other side. He slammed Emma's door open at full speed, his rifle raised and ready to fire, and found Emma standing in the middle of her room, looking small and confused in her pajamas, her eyes hot with fever and wide with fear. The door to the safe room was open behind her. The room was empty. Dad, Emma whispered, why do you have a gun? Daniel walked around the room with the rifle in his hand, checking the corners, the field of vision, checking anywhere a threat might lurk. Nothing. The window was intact. The closet was empty. There was no one there. No one. Except... The radio crackled. An emotional moment, Ethan's voice said. But I'm not in the room, Dan. I'm smarter than that. Daniel grabbed Emma and pulled her close, positioning himself between her and the door. I'm in the house, Ethan continued. But I'm not where you think I am. You see, while you were being all heroic, shooting at my team, I was doing what I do best. Navigating spaces you forgot about. Spaces under the house. Utility pipes. Little hidden places that don't show up on the plans but surely exist in a house this complex. Daniel's eyes drifted to the ceiling vent. Too small for a man, but big enough for... I'm not in the ventilation system either. Try again. Daniel's tactical mind carefully analyzed the house plan. He tried to figure out where Ethan might be, what would give him access to the systems, the intercom, the basement, the workshop where Maya was hiding. You got it, Ethan said, reading Daniel's silence correctly. Yeah, I'm down there with your new girlfriend. She's actually pointing a gun at me right now. Cute. She's shaking so bad I don't think she could hit me from a foot away. But she's got spirit. I'll give it to you. Don't touch her, Daniel said. It's entirely up to you. Bring me the USB stick and I'll let her live. Hell, I'll let all 3 of you live. My people are dead. It's your fault. But I can still salvage the situation. I just need the evidence, and then everyone can go home. I threw it out the window. Silence. You're lying. Check the tracking device. It's out there somewhere, in the mud. More silence. Daniel could almost hear Ethan checking, confirming, realizing it was true. Damn, Ethan muttered. Okay. It complicates things, but we'll adapt, right? Old habits. I'll have people search the area, find the USB stick, and in the meantime, you and I will have a discussion about what happens next. Let go of Maya. I can't do this. He's seen too much. He knows too much. Plus, it's insurance. You care about the innocent, Dan. You always have. That's your weakness. This is called being human. That's called stupidity. The world no longer rewards nice people. It rewards those who get results. Daniel looked at Emma and saw her looking at him with eyes so similar to his mother's that it physically hurt. You need to go back to the safe room, he whispered. Lock the door. Don't open it to anyone but me. But Dad, please, baby, trust me. Emma hesitated, then nodded. She stepped back into the secure room, and Daniel heard the locks click shut. Strong, secure. At least she would be protected from whatever happened next. Daniel pressed the radio. I'm coming down, alone, unarmed. We'll talk. Smart choice. If I see Maya hurt, you... What? You're not in a position to profit from threats, Dan. I protected Marcus from the people who were making your employers look like amateurs. Do you really think I can't find a way to make you pay? Ethan laughed. Marcus was easy. It's easy to hide someone when they're cooperating. But fighting me in your own house with your daughter upstairs? You're not capable of that. Daniel put down the rifle and checked his Glock. It had 6 rounds left. He took out the magazine, emptied the chamber, and placed it next to the rifle. Then he stood up, raised his hands, and headed for the stairs. The house was eerily quiet now. There was a storm outside, carnage inside, and somewhere downstairs, his former best friend was holding a woman hostage, explaining how friendship meant nothing compared to money. Daniel slowly descended the stairs. The ground floor, past the kitchen, to the basement. The door to the workshop was open. Inside, Ethan Bradshaw stood behind Maya, one arm wrapped around her neck and a gun pressed to his temple. He looked exactly as Daniel remembered, sharp-featured, elegant, dressed in black tactical gear that probably cost more than Daniel's truck. Hey, Dan, Ethan said casually. Long time no see. Not long enough. Still upset about business? Come on, you knew Guardian Security was dying. You knew private security was either going corporate or shady. I chose shady. You chose suburban dad. I chose family, and look where it got you. Daniel's eyes flicked to Maya. She was trying to look brave, but he could see the horror behind it all. He saw the calculation in her eyes, wondering if this man she had trusted would truly save her or sacrifice her. The USB drive is outside, Daniel said, in the storm. Your people might find it. They're already looking, but here's the problem. Even if they find her, even if we recover the evidence, there's still a problem. Maya here can recreate her. She's got all the information memorized. Account numbers, transfer data, everything. Which means she'll always be a threat. So, make a deal. Pay her. Threaten her family. Do whatever you people do to buy silence. I tried with her brother. It didn't work. The Lawson family has this annoying ethical line. Maya spoke for the first time, her voice tense but firm. Marcus will find out it was you. He'll tell everyone. Marcus is in witness protection under a name even he doesn't know anymore. He has no power, no influence. He's a ghost, Ethan smiled. Just like you're about to become. Daniel took a step forward. Let her go. I can't do this. then shoot me instead. I'm the one who killed your people. I'm the one who complicated everything. She's just a witness. Nice try, but you're worth more to me in life. See, I thought you were a talented guy, Dan. Wasted potential, hiding out here. But what if I could bring you back? Not to Guardian security, not to the corporate world. To a real job, the kind of job that pays 7 figures and doesn't ask questions. You want me to work for people who are trying to kill this woman? I want you to stop pretending you're better than me. We're the same. We've always been the same. The only difference is that I'm honest about who we are. Daniel met his old friend's gaze and saw the truth there. Ethan really believed it. He believed that loyalty, morality, family, all the things that once mattered, were just illusions. That in the end, everyone has a price. We're not the same, Daniel said quietly, because I would rather die than hurt an innocent person to save myself. Really? Ethan's gun moved slightly, moving from Maya's temple to Daniel's. Are you going to die right now? With Emma up there. What's going to happen to her when you leave? Daniel's hands were still raised, still empty, but his eyes flicked briefly to the workbench behind Ethan, where tools lay scattered, including a heavy steel wrench inches from Maya's right hand. She saw what it looked like. She understood. Emma will be safe, Daniel said, because you don't intend to harm her. You may be a mercenary, you may be a traitor, but you are not a child killer. Don't bet on that. I'll bet on that. I'll bet everything. Daniel lunged, not at Ethan, but at the wall switch. His hand slammed against it, plunging the workshop into absolute darkness. He heard Maya move. He heard the hiss of a wrench cutting through the air. He heard Ethan swearing. He heard gunshots, wild flashes, lighting the room in a strobe of violence. Daniel collapsed, rolled, and ended up near the work table, where he had hidden his backup weapon, a shotgun loaded with traumatic bullets, because he never wanted lethal force in the same room as Emma might be playing. Compromises, always compromises. He fired blindly, heard Ethan groan, heard the bodies fall to the floor, then silence. Daniel's hand found the flashlight on the work table and turned it on. Maya stood over Ethan, the key in her hand, her chest heaving. Ethan lay on the floor, blood pouring from his temple where the key had struck him. His gun had slipped to the floor. He was alive, unconscious, but alive. Daniel grabbed some collars from the workbench and bound Ethan's arms and legs with the efficiency of someone who had done this 100 times before. Then he checked on Maya. "Are you feeling well?" She nodded, unable to speak. "You're great. You're brave." "I'm not brave. I'm terrified." It's usually the same thing. Daniel walked over to the workshop phone, a landline, independent of the main system. He picked it up, heard the blessed sound of a dial tone, and dialed 911. "This is Daniel Harrison, Cliffside Road, 44487. Multiple burglaries, gunshots, casualties. Send everything." The dispatcher's voice was heard, professional and calm, asking questions and answering them while his eyes remained fixed on Ethan's unconscious body. 23 minutes, the dispatcher said. "Help in 23 minutes. Daniel hung up and looked at Maya. "We need to secure the house. Make sure they're not outside. The stick, we'll find it later. Now I have to go see what Emma's doing." They returned upstairs together, Daniel leading with the rifle, Maya following with Ethan's gun clutched in her trembling hands. The house was a war zone. Bodies, blood, broken doors. Outside, the storm was still raging. But inside, The violence had finally subsided. Emma's room. The door to the secure room is still locked. Daniel knocked. "Emma, honey, it's Daddy. Everything's okay now. You can open the door." The locks came loose. The door swung wide open. Emma stood there, pale and small, her eyes red from crying. Daniel put down the rifle and knelt down, pulling her into his arms. She wrapped herself around him, her thin body trembling. "I was so scared," she whispered. I know, but you were so brave. You did exactly what I asked you to do." "Who were those people?" "Bad people, but now they're gone." "Is the woman okay?" Daniel looked back at Maya, who stood in the doorway, looking 10 years older in the last hour. "It's okay," Daniel said. "It'll be okay." Emma pulled back, looking at him with those all-too understanding eyes. "You're bleeding. Just a scratch. Your mother said the same thing before she sent you to the hospital." Daniel managed to smile. "Your mother was smart." She was. They remained like that for a long time, father and daughter, holding each other in the ruins of their fortress, until the sound of sirens finally pierced the storm. Help was coming. The worst was over. But when Daniel looked at Maya, saw the tortured expression on her face as she clutched the USB stick she had apparently retrieved from outside, he knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Because $50 billion don't just disappear. Because the people who pay for private armies don't give up after one failed operation. Because Ethan Bradshaw may be unconscious on his workshop floor, but he was just a soldier in a much bigger war. And Daniel Harrison, who thought he could hide from the world, who thought he could protect his daughter by building walls and installing locks, now understood the terrible truth. Safety was an illusion. The only way to truly protect Emma was to destroy the threat at its source, which meant going on the offensive, which meant becoming the hunter instead of the hunted. As the first policeman burst through the front door, guns raised and shouting orders, Daniel threw up his hands and surrendered to the chaos. But in his mind, he was already planning, already calculating, already preparing for the war that was to come. Because they had brought the fight to his home, now he would bring it to them. Police cars painted Daniel's driveway with pulsating red and blue lights, their beams piercing the rain like accusing fingers. Sheriff Tom Wardell was the first through the door, his service weapon at the ready, his weather-beaten face shifting from professional alertness to pure shock as he surveyed the scene. Jesus Christ, Daniel. 4 bodies, blood on the walls, bullet holes in the ceiling. A 7-year-old girl sitting in her father's arms, while her father stood covered in blood that wasn't entirely his own. Daniel kept his hands in sight and his voice calm. "Sheriff, 4 armed intruders broke into my home. I was defending my family. The leader is tied up in my workshop, unconscious but alive. My daughter is unharmed. The woman next to me is Maya Lawson. She is a witness who came here, seeking protection." Wardell's eyes swept over the carnage again, processing, calculating. He had known Daniel for 4 years. He knew about Sarah's death. He knew about the paranoid security measures. He probably thought Daniel was crazy. No one else did. "An ambulance is 3 minutes away," Wardell said, holstering his gun. "Deputies, secure the house. Check every room. I need statements from everyone." His eyes found Emma. "Honey, are you hurt?" Emma shook her head, her face buried in Daniel's shoulder. "She still needs to go to the doctor," Daniel said. "She was sick. Pneumonia. It didn't help." Wardell nodded to one of his deputies. On the ambulance radio, tell them we need a pediatric assessment upon arrival. The next hour descended into controlled chaos. More cops, crime scene investigators, photographers documenting every bloodstain, every bullet hole, every sign of the violence that had erupted in Daniel's fortress. The bodies were photographed, examined, finally covered in sheets and carried away into the storm. Ethan regained consciousness in the workshop, immediately demanding a lawyer. Wardell read him his rights as Daniel watched from the doorway, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no anger. Just the empty realization that he had been right all along. Trust was the most dangerous weapon anyone could use against you. Daniel Harrison. He turned and saw a woman in a dark suit standing behind him, her FBI badge already open in her hand. Special Agent Lisa Chen, Portland office. She was following the investigation into the financial crimes Maya had uncovered. Her expression was professionally neutral, but her eyes were piercing. Your house just became the scene of a federal crime, Chen said. But before we get into jurisdictional disputes with the locals, I need to know. Where's the evidence? The stick Maya Lawson stole. Daniel looked across the room to where Maya sat, wrapped in a blanket, giving a statement to the deputy. Their eyes met on the other side of the room. Maya, Daniel called out, would you like to tell the agent where the USB stick is? Maya reached into her jacket with trembling hands and pulled out a small black device. The LED was now off. The battery had finally died after hours in the storm. She handed it to Chen as if she were handing him a loaded grenade. That's it, Maya said. $50 billion in documented transactions, shell companies in 19 countries, names, dates, account numbers. Enough to take down half the private military contractors operating in the Pacific Northwest. Chen's expression didn't change, but Daniel saw her grip on the USB stick tighten. Do you understand what you've done? What kind of people have you exposed? I understand they tried to kill me. I understand they sent a team to kill everyone in this house to cover their tracks. I understand that if I hadn't run here, I would be dead in a ditch somewhere. Maya's voice gained strength as she spoke. I also understand that my brother almost died exposing corruption that is only a fraction of this amount. Someone has to be concerned with the truth. The truth kills people, and silence. Chen studied Maya for a long moment, then nodded slowly. We need you in protective custody. A federally designated shelter, 24-hour security. Everything we need. No, Daniel said. Both women looked at him. Stay here, Daniel continued. Your asylums are leaking. We both know it. The people behind this operation have resources that make the witness protection program look like a bad joke. Maya came to me because I am someone I can't buy and I can't predict. Mr. Harrison, I appreciate your skills, obviously, but this is a federal investigation now. We have the records. Your protocols led to the death of curator Marcus Lawson 3 months ago. Chen's face became completely impassive. This is classified information. And that's true. I worked on the evacuation. I know exactly how your people were compromised. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Chen could hear him. You want evidence? You have it. You want Maya's testimony? She'll give it. But she remains under my protection until the trial. That's out of the question. What happens if I say no? Then I'll tell Maya to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights and hire a lawyer. You'll get the USB stick. But without her testimony explaining what's on it, half of those accounts will disappear into jurisdictional chaos. Good luck tracking down the invisible money. Chen clenched his jaw. He knew he was right. Financial crime lived and died on testimony. The USB stick was evidence, but Maya was the key. "Okay," Chen said. 48 hours. Stay here under your observation while we set up a shelter. But I will place agents in front of your property." "Great. And if something happens to him?" "It won't happen. It would be better if it didn't happen. Because if it did, you would find that the federal government has a very long memory and very little mercy." Chen turned to leave, then stopped. "To be clear, Mr. Harrison, what you did tonight, protecting your family, protecting the witness, mattered. More than you think." She was gone before he could answer, leaving Daniel among the ruins of his fortress, wondering if the difference had ever been enough, or just another way to measure the price of survival. The ambulance took Emma away for evaluation. Her fever was high, too high, and the doctors insisted on keeping her in the hospital overnight for observation and intravenous antibiotics. Daniel went with her, refusing to leave her even when the nurses assured him she would be fine. Maya stayed behind with the FBI agents, giving a formal statement, telling the story of $50 billion and the people willing to kill to keep it hidden. In the hospital ward, surrounded by sterile white and the quiet hum of machines, Daniel sat by Emma's bed, holding her little hand. She was sleeping now. The antibiotics were doing their job. Her breathing was more even than it had been in the last few days. "I couldn't protect your mother," he whispered to the sleeping child, "but I swore I would protect you, and I will, no matter what the cost." His phone vibrated, a text message from an unknown number. Only 3 words, but they froze his blood in his veins. "She's next." Daniel looked at his daughter's sleeping body, then out the window. Somewhere in the city, resourceful and angry men were plotting their next move. Ethan had been captured. His team was dead. But a $50 billion operation wasn't going to stop because of a botched mission. They will come again, and again, and again. By the time Maya is dead, the evidence will be destroyed, and all the witnesses will be silenced, unless Daniel stops them first. He dialed a number he hadn't called in 4 years, the number of a man who owed him more favors than anyone in the private security industry. "Speak," came the voice on the other end, hoarse, cautious, recognizable. "Marcus, I'm Daniel Harrison. I need your help. Your sister is in danger, and the people who want her dead just made the mistake of threatening my daughter." Silence on the line. Then, "Tell me what you need." And Daniel spoke, because the war he hadn't sought had found him anyway. And if they wanted to fight, he would show them what happened when the only thing that mattered to him in this world was threatened. 2 weeks later, federal prosecutors arrested 17 executives of 3 major private military contractors. Maya's evidence, combined with the information Daniel and Marcus had gathered, using old connections, old skills, and the kind of determination that comes from protecting family, proved irrefutable. Shell companies collapsed. Accounts were frozen. People who thought they were untouchable found themselves handcuffed in front of news cameras, their empires destroyed, not by bullets, but by the truth. Ethan Bradshaw got 20 years for attempted murder, burglary, and conspiracy. In the courtroom, as the sentence was being read, he looked at Daniel one last time, not with hatred, not with regret, but with something like understanding. They had both chosen their own paths. One was leading to prison. The other was bringing them home. Maya entered witness protection after the trial, given a new identity in a town where no one knew her story. But before she left, she came to Daniel's house, now renovated, the walls patched, the doors replaced, but the memory of that night still hovered in the air like a ghost. "I can never repay you for what you did," she said. "You've already gotten your revenge. You stood by me when most people would have run away. That's what matters. Marcus told me you were special, that you were the kind of person who only comes along once in a lifetime, if you're lucky." He was right. She hugged him tightly, then left, disappearing into the life he had helped her have, a life where she could breathe without looking over her shoulder. Emma recovered. Her pneumonia was gone, her smile was back, and though the nightmares continued to come, images from that night, sounds of violence, Daniel was there every time, holding her, reminding her that she was safe, that he would never let anything hurt her. One evening, as a storm, a different, gentler one, beat gently against their windows, Emma sat on Daniel's lap in the living room, her head resting on his chest. "Dad," she said softly, "I'm not afraid." "Okay, sunshine, that's good, because I know you'll always protect me, just like my mother would say you would." Daniel's throat tightened. He thought of Sarah, the woman who believed in goodness even when the world showed him darkness, the woman who had made him keep the promise he held as a sacred oath. "I will do that," he whispered. "Always." And in the quiet of their fortress, in the safety of walls that now meant more than concrete and steel, Daniel Harrison realized something that changed everything. Security didn't mean locks and guns, sensors and escape plans. Security meant being willing to do anything, sacrifice everything, risk everything, face any threat for the people you love. The storm had passed. The threats had been neutralized. And for the first time in 4 years, since he had lost Sarah, Daniel allowed himself to believe that perhaps there could be a future in which his daughter could grow up not in fear, but in peace. A world he had helped create, not by hiding from danger, but by facing it head on and saying, "No further." After all, the greatest fortress he ever built wasn't made of stone and steel. It was a father's love for his child, invincible, indestructible, eternal, and nothing in this world could get through this.